I don't believe in coincidences. I think Dad got there early and he put in a good word for us. I can't come up with any other explanation for it other than, God's definitely got a plan for everybody and puts you in the place where you need to be and puts the things in your path that you need to do. My dad had a company that he bought and sold street rods, but this was our personal vehicle. My name is Jeff Karls and I do merchandising, product management for the street rod line of product. And this is my 46 Ford Sedan Delivery. As far back as I could remember, the Sedan Delivery was around. We went to California and back in this thing, and my brother and I rode in the back of this thing the whole time. It was, we saw a lot of the country through that little tiny back window and what you could see through the split windshield. Sedan deliveries have never been terribly mainstream as far as cars go, and Dad always liked something that was a little different. All of his buddies, when he was getting ready to finish this car off for the ISCA circuit, says, you're crazy, you're Looney Tunes for putting that kind of money and effort into a sedan delivery. Dad started building a 34 Chevy Town sedan. Anybody who does car stuff, sometimes you got to let one go to be able to, to swing the bat on the next one. So this got sold. We sold it to a gentleman, and his name's Bob Bowder. I remember seeing it leave. It was tearful. 5 or 6 year old kid, that was kind of like losing a member of the family. About a year after that, my dad passed away, and sorry. My mom and my brother and I finished the 34 the way that Dad had envisioned it. And eventually my mom remarried another car guy, actually. And, life kind of went on. My stepdad, Bob, in 1999, he was at the Indy Good Guys show. 5 o'clock in the morning, he walks out of the side door of their motel, and this thing is sitting outside in the parking lot. It was amazing to hear that it still existed, because that you always wonder when you send a street rod down the road, did it change? Where did it end up? For something to still remain unchanged after all those years was just amazing. He left a note on the windshield that said, "Hey, my stepsons would be very interested in talking to you. They've got history and information on this car. It's great to see it on the road." My stepdad, Bob, for him to be big enough to say, I'm going to help keep your dad's memory alive and help you bring this thing back home, because he could have just walked past. He was caring enough to be able to help me bring back part of my childhood from before he was there. Those folks that owned this mailed a letter back to my folks, my mom and stepdad, and kind of introduced themselves. Hi, we're Sal and Carol Trujillo. We live in Weirton, West Virginia. We found this car in a barn. So we kept in contact, and Sal had said, when we're finished with this car, when we're ready to sell it, you will be our first phone call. I was at the Columbus, Ohio Good Guys show in 2011. Somehow we ended up parking clear in the boonies, and we were walking through to get into the complex. I was actually backing up, trying to take a picture of a Deuce 5 window. I backed into the corner of this. And when I turned around, the hair on the back of my neck stood up, because it was like seeing a ghost. I hadn't seen this thing in person since I was, 6 or 7 years old. When you're at a show in a work capacity, you don't get a whole lot of time to walk around the car show, especially one that's got 8,000 or 9,000 cars. You're never going to see all the cars at that show. It was where it needed to be for me to cross paths with it again. I'm climbing all over it and underneath of it and looking through the windows and stuff, because it had little details that I remember as a little kid. I shimmied out from underneath the back of this thing, and there's a guy standing there kind of looking at me funny with his arms crossed. And when I popped out from under the car, I said, "Oh, you must be Sal." And he says, "Well, yeah." He goes, "Are you Jeff?" And he showed me around and started it up for me and stuff. And you know, some things were different, but it still sounds the same. It still smells the same inside. It was just amazing. You flash forward to the summer of 2013, and that was when Sal called. He says, "Hey, been a couple years since we talked to you. Do you want to buy it?" I said, "Yeah, I do, but I don't have two nickels to rub together to wish for more money. We're getting married in the fall, so we're trying to make all this stuff happen. I've got this 55 for sale. I've got a house for sale. One of the two of those things gives, I'm there." He says, "That's fine. I already paid my insurance for the year. It's safe in the garage. It's here when you're ready." As things worked out, and Jenny is a trooper, she planned our honeymoon around going to West Virginia to get this thing and bring it home. Met Sal at the Pittsburgh airport, dropped a rental car off. They took us home with them. We spent the day learning where everything was at and how everything worked and stuff. We headed home with it. It was 1,200 miles is the trip, and I had never driven this thing. Flawless. It amazes me that a car built in the late 70s and early 80s, we hopped in it, essentially drove it like it was a rental car all the way home. When I drive this car, I feel like I've traveled back in time. It takes me back to my childhood and seeing everything through a split windshield or that little tiny back window. All comes back. Every time you get in it and hit the key, it's all there still.